I had this friend in elementary school, and her father was Italian, and he was a really good cook. Her dad would be cooking from about 12 p.m. till 5 when we'd be playing around in the yard. You know, cooking was a huge part of their family, and I got to be kind of invited to these Sunday family meals. She was an only child, so it was just me, her mother, and her father, and he would cook these very decadent Italian meals, and it was a Sunday like any other. We had come in from our play out in the yard, and he had prepared us a meal, one of my favorite meals. It was broccoli rabe. It was in a garlic sauce with some sort of rigatoni. At the time, though, I had a palate expander in my mouth, which, for those of you who don't know, it's a piece of metal that hooks onto your back two molars and has a bar that goes across, and it's a big piece of metal in your mouth. So anyway, I was sitting across the table from her father when we were eating this meal, and I ate a piece of broccoli rabe that sort of wrapped around my palate expander, and as I tried to swallow, it was stuck in a space in between my throat and my mouth because it was hooked onto the palate expander. So I wasn't choking for air, but I was experiencing severe discomfort because I was trying to swallow, but it was hanging on. My friend, her father had choked pretty violently on a piece of steak. He was at a restaurant, he was eating steak, he swallowed it, a piece that was not large enough to completely restrict airflow, but big enough to cause severe discomfort, and he was vomiting and ended up in the hospital. And that image of kind of like violently fighting for your breath, but also throwing up in a fancy restaurant, kind of stuck with me. And her father, who had just recently gone through a pretty traumatic choking experience, saw my eyes light up immediately, and he pushed the table away and stood up in an incredibly animated fashion and rushed across the table. At this point, the other two, the mother and my friend, stopped eating and were just looking, as they had no idea what was happening, because the communication I had with him was just a look into his eyes of, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. And he saw that immediately, and he sprung into action. And so now I am the spectacle. He runs across the table and grabs my head with the back of his left hand, and with his right hand shoves his fingers into my mouth and pulls out this piece of broccoli rabe. It came out as quick as it went in. I had no idea what would happen, but I was left really embarrassed. I remember finishing dinner and not wanting to talk about it. You know, who knows if I could have worked that piece of broccoli rabe out on my own. I'm not one to say. But I think it's important to realize how much your experiences influence your actions. For better or for worse, who knows? But there's an obvious correlation between the things you go through and the trauma you experience to how you react to your surroundings.